Planes, one of the most incredible inventions of the 20th century. But did you know that much of the development of aviation took place on Long Island? It's true, and today we're going to find out how, why, and where it took place on this second episode of Long Island Explained. There are many historic plane events that took place on Long Island. First, the first airmail delivery ever made by the U.S. Postal Service was made on Long Island. It took off from Nassau Boulevard Aerodrome in Garden City and went less than 6 miles away to Mineola. The flight was published in the newspaper, and so many people wanted to be involved that the pilot had to put the bag of letters in his lap, throw it off, and then safely land. There was also Roosevelt Field Air Base, a huge air base that housed thousands of soldiers during its heyday from 1917 to 1961. In the air base, there was a gym, a pool, and a tailor shop for when the soldiers were off duty and wanted to relax. Additionally, Roosevelt Field Airstrip opened in the 1920s, and it was home to one of the most memorable, record-breaking flights ever. You see, planes were the new technology in the 1920s, and they amazed people. Pilots were celebrities, and throughout the decade, they were all trying to break new records. In 1925, the newest one was to fly to Europe non-stop. One guy tried from Roosevelt Field Airstrip in 1925, but his plane toppled over before he took off. Another guy was planning on trying, but his plane was damaged in a test run. Charles Lindbergh was an unknown airmail pilot who wanted to break the record, but just before he planned on doing it, two guys had already taken off from Paris intending to land in New York. But they were never heard from again! So Lindbergh could break the record. On May 20th, 1927, Lindbergh took off, and 33 hours later, he landed in Paris.
Welcome. Welcome.
As times moved on, it was clear that Long Island was a stronghold of aviation. Off to Normandy on the Western Front as the soldiers enjoy their splendid D-Day victory. New planes being shipped into the front, and soldiers are delighted. But where were these planes made? Well, on Long Island, the dandiest little place in America. Yes, the companies of Grumman and Republic have produced 46% of the planes used in the war, and it's no wonder why America keeps winning, winning, winning. All right, boys, how about you hop inside and go bomb some Japanese cities? This newsreel was brought to you by smoking. It cures diseases. There are plenty of other sites on Long Island that were used to produce and ship planes. You might be thinking, why Long Island? This is Europe, and one of the closest pieces of flat land in the United States to Europe is Long Island. Additionally, because it was not as dense these days, it was the perfect spot for flight. Ultimately, Long Island would lose a lot of this open land after World War II. Why? Well, our favorite architect, Robert Moses, and others had worked hard to make Long Island an accessible place to live and commute to New York City. Combine that with the popularization of the automobile, and the population of Long Island rocketed. This population growth and many other factors ultimately led to Long Island's most famous industry to dissolve in major ways. There are three main reasons why the aviation industry left Long Island. 1. People don't like living near airports. Planes are loud. And as towns want their land to be as valuable as possible, they try to pressure some planes to get out. This is what happened to Roosevelt Field Air Base.
Get the air base out of my place! Get the air base out of my place!
2. Military-industrial fluctuation. The businesses of Grumman and Republic revolved around U.S. military contracts, but when the United States was at peace and the industry had to constantly adapt, it was hard for the businesses to operate.
This plane ain't nothing for the military. We got the F-15s, now we got the F-15s. This is garbage.
Ultimately, Republic merged with a different company in the 1960s and left Long Island, and Grumman stayed and was able to get contracts to build NASA's lunar models. 3. Suburban development. Roosevelt Field was sold to real estate developers in the 1950s, along with Curtis Field and Valley Stream, and Fitzmars Field and Massapequa, which we didn't talk about. It is for these three reasons that the Long Island aviation industry is largely dissolved over time. But wait! What happened to all that land? Well, as most Long Islanders know, Roosevelt Field became a massive mall. Republic's airfield became a proper tiny airport in East Farmingdale, and Grumman's airbase in Bethpage became a movie studio that still has a plane outside. As for Mitchell Field, that one's a little more interesting. There are a surprising amount of remnants still left over from Mitchell Field's Air Force days, the most iconic being hangars. You see, because Mitchell Field was given over to Nassau County and not any individual person, the county left a lot of those hangars up and converted them into museums. Let's check them out. There's the Long Island Children's Museum, the Nassau County Firefighters Museum, the Cradle of Aviation Museum, this carousel connected to the Aviation Museum, and then there's this empty hangar who's probably very sad he's not a museum. It's quite fascinating that such a niche industry found its home in Long Island, and perhaps it's even more interesting how it all faded away. Oh my God! Oh my God, we missed so much! Oh my gosh! World War I, we missed World War II, the Cubs won the World Series, 9/11 happened, so much stuff! Oh my God! How did this happen? Where did we go? What's happening? Holy God! How did we have food and water and sustenance? None of it makes sense! We died! We disappeared! But now we're back!